Hi guys, and welcome to Supporting Cultural Change and Employee Engagement through Climate Leadership Workshop. So, um, as you can see, we've got about an hour of time here today. So it's going to be kind of quite whistle stop. We're going to go through kind of each sort of three of the kind of sections in terms of looking at kind of what cultural change is and what work culture is, looking at kind of climate leadership. And also how we can engage employees too. So what I'm going to do is what we're going to start off with is who am I? So my name's Saul Whitford. I'm the Knowledge Exchange and Impact Officer here at the Net Zero Exchange Project. And my role is really developing a series of short courses that we've been doing. We've got a 3-hour course, which is like a real intro course. We've got a 12-hour course around net zero action and around carbon footprinting as well. So if you're interested in that, then they're coming up in July. We've also got a longer 60-hour Future Climate Leaders course, which is going to be launching in September. So yes, worth just getting that kind of quick plug in there for some upcoming courses. My experience is I've got about 20 years experience. I know you're probably thinking I'm old enough to have that much experience. I'm very blessed to look as young as I do. But yeah, predominantly in manufacturing, predominantly again in the print industry. And over the years, I've also taught sort of and coached hundreds of people to snowboard and to surf as well. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So it would be really great to in the chat if you could let me know who you are and which company you're coming from, just so I can kind of get a bit of an idea, and also why you chose this session today. So yeah, if you pop that in the chat, that would be appreciated. I know there's a bit of a delay between me saying that and then what kind of actually gets broadcast as well. So just wait a few minutes just for people to pop some bits in the Q&A or the chat. Sarah's up first. Great, thanks guys. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate that. So what we're going to do initially, as I mentioned, we're going to really just kind of examine what is climate leadership in the first place. And here we've got some kind of quite famous climate leaders, and some of them may be more familiar to you than others. The one that I was kind of less aware of was Wangari Maathai, which I hope I'm saying that right. She is the lady in the bottom right hand of the slide, and she's the executive director for the UN Environmental Programme, and she was the founder of an organisation called the Great Green Belt Movement, responsible for planting over 51 million trees throughout kind of Africa, Uganda, I believe, and coming up against kind of a lot of issues around that, and that she'd overcome. And the others are kind of David Attenborough, who I'm sure most of you will be familiar with, broadcaster and responsible for kind of driving so much awareness around these important issues. Greta Thunberg, again, teenage girl who was started doing school strikes, not going to school on a Friday, grew into a global movement. And then there's also Al Gore, who again kind of almost an American politician who created the movie An Inconvenient Truth, which again highlighted the plight of climate change. So really kind of thinking about what is it that these guys all have in common, and really again they've got that commitment in the first instance to sustainability. So they're dedicated to promoting these sustainability practices within their communities, within their organisations, and so it's a real kind of commitment of going above and beyond. They're also sort of setting ambitious goals. So people are kind of involved in striving for not just the kind of doing the easy things, but kind of going above and beyond again. Also innovation and implementing that innovation again. And they drive it by developing new technologies, practices, and contribute that sustainability. And it can be kind of, within renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, green building practices. We've heard from a whole plethora of people talking throughout the day and across a whole range of different kind of spaces. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in maybe traditional climate science. It can be with whatever your speciality is in. So it's innovating it within that sustainability field. Also then looking at policy advocacy. They often advocate for different environmental and sustainability policies. Again, Greta has been sort of fundamental in doing this and supporting that. So, and how they can participate in the climate negotiations too. And then again, education and awareness are really driving that awareness and helping people to understand what it is that's actually happening. And speaking publicly, publishing research, engaging with those communities, and around the environmental stewardship too, and also building collaboration and partnerships. So how do we address this? Across sectors, across borders, and again looking at a whole range of different topics. It needs everyone doing their bit, and in order to do that, coming together in events like today, having conversations about how we can actually partner and help these things to grow. And also, how can we adapt? It's happening, and we can be resilient to it. But what can we actually do to mitigate these changes and protect the kind of communities and ecosystems that we're living in? So yeah, really kind of just touching on kind of that climate leadership piece, and really what it means to be a climate leader. So why is it important? I think really kind of that burning, those drivers for change. We know why, we must take action on climate, but kind of actually understanding why we need to be leaders within our organizations, within our communities. So obviously we need to mitigate the effects that are happening, and how we can go about doing this is actually fundamental to being able to have a future planet that we can all live in and kind of really strive to enjoy. And again, for organizations, it can enhance that reputation. There's so many co-benefits of actually, of doing this. It is the right thing to be doing, but it's also actually, it's a real benefit to the organizations, as we've kind of seen throughout the day with lots of examples around. Actually, there's health benefits, there's engagement benefits. So it's again, such an important piece around it. Again, around opening new markets, whether or not it's kind of supply led in terms of actually, suppliers are saying we're going to be doing offering more sustainable alternatives, or whether or not it's demand led, you going to your suppliers or your customers coming to you and saying, actually, we want greener options and alternatives to what we're already seeing. So again, it can drive cost savings. So there's so many environmental sustainability wins which are actually associated with which having actually operational benefits as well, and waste mitigation. So it actually can drive cost savings, reducing energy bills and things like that. It's fundamental. So it's all kind of really good reasons why climate leadership is so important. And kind of picking up on that bit about talent, and kind of that talent retention and that employee engagement piece. So 26% of employees are saying that sustainability is their top non-negotiable for a new employer. So I mean, just think, a quarter of all employees is saying that is really there and at the forefront of their mind, which I think is quite staggering. And also then in terms of young workers, so we've got around 40%, just over 40% of Gen Z, millennial employees are looking at changing jobs. They want to go to something which is more sustainable, something which they feel like they've got some purpose in driving the kind of climate agenda. And again, looking at 50%, they're pushing to drive environmental issues within their organisations, and then 15% feel that they're able to influence their company's sustainability efforts. And that's, I think we're only going to see these numbers growing, and that is the hope. And hopefully, kind of off the back of some of the work that we could do today, we'll see that essentially we can kind of grow that and educate our workforces and really utilize as kind of climate leaders or the future climate leaders, that really we've got these spheres of influence, kind of as an individual, within our teams, within our organizations, depending on what level we're at, where our families are, and we can really drive significant change by kind of being climate leaders within our own spheres of influence. I think that's a kind of really important thing that kind of I'd love for you guys to be able to take away from today. So we're going to do some workshop activity. So I think with the nature of Spot Me, it's quite tricky to kind of get that interactivity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a link in the chat now, and what we'll do is we'll go to what's called a Miro board. So if you're not familiar with utilizing Miro boards before, then what we can do is, so I've just shared the link there, is essentially if we go to the board, click on the link, you should open up the board. You shouldn't have to sign in or anything, and it should show you a board. What I will do as well is I will keep my slides open on the shared, and if anyone wants for me to share my screen, if they can't access it, then again put the question in the chat, and I'll share my screen so that everyone can view that if you are struggling to get on there. A quick kind of brief way of what we're going to be doing. So there's going to be about sort of 3 main exercises that we're going to look at doing, but the first one's a bit of fun. This is a template that I kind of utilized from work that Deloitte have done, and so it's essentially choosing your monster and dragging and dropping that onto the wheel, which describes just how you're feeling today, how you're feeling with this kind of plethora of information that's been shared with you about the kind of climate challenges and this net zero. So are you feeling hopeful and excited? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling angry? So yeah, if you kind of go through and navigate to that Miro board and then kind of start interacting with it, and you'll be able to see other people there as well. A quick mention to zoom in and out, kind of just use the scroll wheel, and that way you can kind of zoom in and out. We're going to be working kind of from left to right, so it starts over on the left hand side with that wheel with the monsters, that little icons that you'll need to drag into place, and then we're going to go over to the right hand side. You can navigate by kind of right mouse clicking rather than left mouse clicking, and that way you can drag and navigate the Miro board. So I hope that's kind of clear for everyone. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes dragging the monsters. I can see everyone's there. A few people have already dragged their monsters. Feel free to choose all different ones. So yeah, so good. Everyone's feeling mostly happy. One person feeling scared. So yeah, I'll give you just a few minutes more just to kind of to get logged in. I know if this is new for some people, then it might be then yeah, tricky or new. Yeah, don't worry if you move the wheel, I'll jump in and move it back for you. So but yeah, hopefully this kind of gives you a bit more of that workshop feel, something which is kind of a bit more engaging, a bit more interactive, rather than just me presenting some slides and talking to you for the full kind of hour or so, or 50 minutes I think we've got essentially. So okay, they're seeing there. I think sort of most people kind of look to be getting to grips with that, kind of dragging them into the kind of right sort of places, or where they feel is how they're feeling. So thanks for doing that. Appreciate that. And what they're going to do now is just kind of go on to those goals of the workshop. So really looking at what's on the menu today. So really looking at how we can build sustainability into our work culture, how we can engage employees in sustainability, and how can climate leadership align with our business priorities, which I think, these are kind of the three key questions that I kind of want to sort of think about, and sort of think about getting the answers from you today. And I think reflecting on it as well, it's, I don't necessarily have all the answers within your organizational context. I think a lot of the time you'll have the answers, and utilizing something like this and coming to days like this helps with that peer learning as well, so people can actually engage with it, and help to kind of get the answers and ask the right questions. So if everyone's ready, I think what I'd like to do is sort of move over to the right hand side. If you can kind of drag over to what is exercise 1. And so really now kind of just taking a step back and actually thinking, what is the work culture where the organization that I'm in? So what I'd like you to do is, if you grab the monster that you've chosen for today, and if you can drag that into the center of one of the squares of what look like little sticky notes. And if you drag that into the center of the square, and then surrounding the sticky note, if you zoom in, you can kind of see again in that example, what is it that makes up the culture within your organization? So that could be all kinds of different things. That could be, is it hierarchical? What's the kind of leadership styles? Again, what are the values, what are the beliefs, what are the normal practices? How do we go about doing things? How do we communicate with one another? So, what is that work? Is it a hybrid environment? Is it all online? Are you in a factory? Is it work for a digital agency? So really kind of understanding actually what makes the culture of your organization. And it's kind of just explore that and spend about sort of 10 minutes doing that, maybe 7-8 minutes to kind of get your own thoughts down, really reflect on it. It maybe work for a religious organization, and that forms a big part of your organization. So really kind of taking a lens and looking at it from all different angles in which you do work. How are you motivated? How are you rewarded at your organization? How's the work-life balance? Is exercise or sustainability actively encouraged? Is what are the motivators? What's the kind of diversity and inclusion? What does that look like across the organization, and the innovation? So I'm going to pause there, let you guys reflect on that, and then once you've kind of completed it, just go around the board and have a look at other people's as well, and see how that differs from yours, if there's similarities, and we'll kind of pick up a few bits in a second. So like I said, I'll let you carry on with that. Great. See you guys filling that in nicely. Appreciate taking the time to do this. Also, hopefully, for those that might have been sat doing emails as well, listening to it in the background, hopefully this is a bit more engaging. Yeah, great. Nice to see some common themes around team working, purpose-driven hybrid working. Yeah, supportive and caring, relaxed. Yeah, again, hybrid working seems to be a very common one, and flexibility. Yeah, future oriented. Nice, I like that. Yeah, others where they're a bit more, formal systems, slow to change. Yeah, some top-down leadership. Again, leadership styles can be they can be helpful. They can be hindering. It's about kind of utilizing them in the right way, at the right times, get the most out of them. So guys, I think what I can see, most people looks like they're kind of finishing up, kind of doing that. So just give you sort of 30 seconds more, maybe a minute more, just to kind of look at others, see what others have written there, kind of again reflect on your own kind of thoughts about your organisation and what it feels like to work there, how the teams interact, and then we're going to go through just very quickly. If you can go back to the tab where presentation is, kind of just go through some quick ones around sort of the values and what work culture is. So yeah, if you flick back to the hopefully the tab that's still open there with the presentation, and just kind of, I think kind of we touched upon it now with your reflections, but really again, what is a work culture? Kind of around values and beliefs within an organisation. Again, is that, are they shared? Are they ethical standards? Is it around the mission of the company, around a shared vision, which I know a lot of you put there, around, what's normal? Like, how do we normally do things? How do we, like, what's the normal practice? So is it best practice? Are there things that we do, everyday rituals, which kind of happen? Are people always on time? Are people always late for meetings? How does that affect your kind of your culture within your organization? How do we communicate with one another? Do we have kind of toolbox talks? Do we have open and easy one-to-ones? Is that weekly, monthly? Do we have constant reviews? How is information disseminated throughout the whole organization? Smaller organizations can be much easier, but if there's personal issues around that, or personal conflicts that can, even within a small organization, be very difficult. So having open channels of communication is really, really fundamental. Again, leadership styles, one of the ones that picked up on their top-down leadership style. How do we actually go around leading within an organization, or how do we like to be led as well? So everyone's generally got a boss. How do they like to engage with that boss? Again, comes down to that communication. What kind of different styles? What style works best for you within that? And how does sustainability kind of feed into this? What's the environment like? Again, hybrid working a lot for you guys. If you're working on a computer, or whether or not potentially in a factory doing something you physically have to be there. Employee relations, again, are you listened to as an employee? Can you collaborate? Are there support systems? Are there benefits? All of these things that kind of feed into it. Again, then motivation and rewards. If you caught John Rhodes speaking just before this, talking about what motivates people, and how can we utilize that within kind of various scenarios, and how can we reward that as well? and within the kind of sustainability sort of sphere, that work-life balance, and then innovation and risk-taking again, and again, diversity, inclusion. Do I work in a diverse organization, or is it very kind of narrow in terms of what their thinking is like? And do they have a lot of equality? Is there a lot of inclusion as part of the organization? So next up, we're going to go back to the Miro board. So if you click on the link again, or if you've got the tab still open, we're going to do what's a kind of cultural thermometer activity. So there's a series of 8 statements. And what I'd like you to do is grab your monster that you've chosen for this workshop activity, your inner monster, and drag and drop those onto where you feel you agree with or disagree with those statements. So again, I'll give you about 5 or 6 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, to open that up again and to start dragging. I can see a few people are already there, quick ones, yeah. So read those statements and go through how you feel they agree or align or or don't align with what happens in your organization. So if there's a bit of traffic maybe at the top, maybe start with the ones at the bottom. Right. Great to see. Nice, lots of agreement there. Very hot on the thermometer in terms of where we are around understanding goals and initiatives around sustainability, believing that the leadership team is committed. Again, feeling that people are encouraged, employees are encouraged to contribute. Great. And I suppose sort of in the middle as well. And I think sometimes this is reflective of these kind of activities and these kind of scenarios where I think we can be a bit guilty of living in a bit of an echo chamber, essentially, where we all think we're all kind of on this journey together, and again, like John was saying, and about other people again throughout the day have been saying, really about reaching those people that are kind of on the fringes and even beyond that really need to kind of start engaging with this. And again, today is about utilizing our sphere of influence to be able to kind of develop that and kind of move on with how we might be able to do it and engage your audience and employees, which they might be climate deniers or climate change deniers. They might be people that don't necessarily engage with it, don't think that it affects them, but it affects everyone. We know that, but it's helping to educate others so that they can understand that as well. You see there's still a bit of movement there. Last few people kind of dragging their monsters on there. So interesting. Again, the communication from management. So this is the one which the last question here is the one which is definitely got least or the less hot across the whole board. So that communication from management about our sustainability goals and progress is clear and effective. Again, a common thread that's kind of come through this, and Mike Berners-Lee was talking about this as well. Effective communication. How do we effectively communicate and engage audiences and employees in this instance to kind of shift the dial and get them to come along on this journey with us? So we're going to be kind of exploring that a little bit more now. Great. So hopefully you found that useful. We're just going to go back again to the slides. So really, in terms of shifting the dial and that kind of cultural change, what we find is engaging employees is the absolute key to success. So making sure that people feel like they're actually contributing to the overall vision and goal of the company is really fundamental to having a kind of winning strategy. So we really want to see an education and awareness on sustainability, and also fostering ownership, accountability, involving them in the decision-making process so they really feel that they actually have kind of an ownership of it. And again, engaging unofficial leaders. So what I really mean by this is not maybe like your team leaders or not your senior management team, but those people that hold sway within the organization, like the kind of Jack the Lads, the people that are maybe kind of answering back, the people that are constantly kind of the leaders within their kind of teams, which aren't official leaders, and really making sure they're on board with it. Because as soon as you get them, those could be kind of those unofficial champions, or even making them champions, giving them those responsibilities, educating them, you'll see that kind of that wave of people kind of come along for that journey off the back of kind of just winning those people over because they have so much influence. It really kind of ties into this this idea of kind of utilizing champions, but also this invoking of tribal and this network effect where people want to be part of the group. They don't want to be kind of outliers for the majority of people, and that's kind of we can use that to help kind of, again, that psychology with actually people want to be kind of part of the crowd, and making it normal. It's normalizing these things that sustainability isn't this kind of crazy siloed kind of sort of left field idea about, well, that's a cost, that's an imposition on how I normally do my job. It's actually weaving it into how people already do their jobs, and that's really key to it as well. Really engaging in the first instance, and helping them to build that vision. So what we see is 83% of people want to take action on climate within their jobs. That comes from the Kite Insight report. And we also see then that 83% of organisations want to build a people-centric culture. I think it was Emily who kind of kicked off at the very beginning of the day from the Young Foundation, and they were talking about this increasing focus on where the work that they do around a people and then place-centric culture, and then that drives the sustainability around what they're kind of doing in their wider spheres within their work, within their communities, within their families, but really actually having a focus on the individual and actually the location. So it's kind of really individual strategy that's needed, and those kind of broad brush approaches don't necessarily tend to work as well as we might hope. So now we've got the last kind of exercise on our Miro board. So if I can ask you to navigate to that tab again for me, please, or click on the link again if you've shut it down. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag over to the right. And so it's really about how to engage and shift culture. So there's an example on the right hand side. So to the right, further along to the right past the exercise, there's a load of post-it notes, so or sticky notes. What I would like you to do is, if you can grab one of those sticky notes and then put it around these 8 kind of topics. And these 8 topics relate to that thermometer kind of statement. So we've got one around sustainability awareness. We've got that climate leadership commitment, employee involvement, cultural change, resource support, impact recognition, personal motivation, and communication effectiveness. And what I'd really like to see here is kind of, how can your organisation be better? How are you maybe doing it at the moment already? Have you seen some really good examples of how maybe people are driving sustainability awareness? Is that through a training scheme? Is that maybe coming on one of our courses, the 3-hour course? It's open, it's free to all, to drive that level of sustainability awareness up. How are they involving employees? Are they creating a sustainability working group across departments to drive that? What support is there in terms of resource? Is it funded? is there kind of space and time allocated to actually have sustainability conversations, and how do you weave these in, around what's already happening within the business priority? Because again, that's absolutely key, weaving these commitments, so that environmental and sustainability doesn't sit outside as a silo. It sits threaded across all departments within finance, within marketing, within operations, because what we see is more often than not, sustainability wins are wins across all of those departments as well. It's just about changing that perspective, getting to people to think in these sustainable ways that they might not necessarily be doing, and just shifting that lens and perspective. So again, give you about sort of 10 minutes or so, just to kind of put the post-its around that sustainability awareness, or sorry, around all of the different topics, and how you feel that your organization could engage within that, with that topic. So I'm just myself typing in a few things that I've seen as well. Okay, guys, so just looking at the board, seems that few people just finishing off. Oh, there's a flurry of activity. I'll wait a couple more minutes, let people just kind of get their final thoughts down. And then what we'll do is reflect on that, and kind of go through my kind of thinkings and my own reflections on it. And then at the end of the session, there'll be some time for some Q&A. There's any questions that have come in, or anyone feels that there's some burning questions that I will hopefully be able to answer. Great success. Yeah. Okay, guys. So really, the next slide is about that kind of implementation. And so, yeah, how will we use climate leadership to implement that and drive that kind of cultural change? So really, the first point to me is about kind of educating employees, really getting them on board so they understand what it is, why there is the need in the first instance to be doing this. And we think, like I say, we live in an echo chamber. We think it's obvious. Still a lot of people out there that don't necessarily know, or they're apathetic to it. They don't care. Their priorities aren't aligned with that. So helping them to understand, bring them along with the vision and the values of kind of what it is that we're trying to do as not even as a purpose-led organization, but as an organization that wants to have some sort of purpose in driving this kind of, and understands their responsibility and their role that they have to play within this kind of net zero journey. So educating employees so that they understand that is really fundamental. And then engage them so that they can actually contribute to this common vision. And again, reflecting on some of John's work that he was saying about actually getting people to think about this vision. What does it look like in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, and working all the way back so that we can work towards this common goal. So engaging those employees so that they kind of create that, they feel like they've actually been part of making it rather than being dictated to. It works absolute wonders in being able to do that. And again, getting those sort of unofficial leaders on board with that can really be the kind of make or break of some of these initiatives, and help kind of drive that motivation. So it's not just a 2-month sprint, it's something which is embedded and ingrained for years. So what we're also then going to do is share that vision and those goals widely so that all of the organization is on board with it, and it normalizes what it is that we do. Fourth point, really, again, aligning those sustainability goals with the business priorities. So looking at kind of how they can be weaved into what it is that we're already doing. So again, like I've said, lots of sustainability wins. They're kind of operational, they can be financial, they can be marketing wins as well. So for example, minimizing raw material inputs, you're going to have less waste, you're going to increase productivity, increase efficiency, through a manufacturing process, for example, or reducing energy. They're all operational goals, but they also have a sustainability thread and a sustainability story as well. So reducing energy is great. You're paying less for your energy, whether or not that sits within your ops kind of line, or whether or not that sits within finance. But that's also then, you're not contributing in terms of your CO2 emissions because of reduced energy use. So it's a win-win. And really about, again, so the fifth point, integrating this sustainability and weaving it into existing systems. So from my own experience, we had an environmental spreadsheet, and we had a consultant that would come in, and we would fill in the environmental spreadsheet the day before our consultant would come in, and then we present that information to her. She was the only person that ever looked at it. It wasn't a living, breathing system. So what we did is we implemented two kind of sustainability KPIs within our dashboard that we looked at in our monthly management meetings every single month. And that then built it into the existing system that we had. So instead of it being updated the day before she came, it was updated weekly, because we knew at the month end, when we were looking at all the other numbers, we would also be looking at that as well. And so weaving those into existing systems, again, is fundamental, so that it becomes the new normal of how you're integrating and utilizing it. So again, integrating it in with the existing systems, and then review it like everything. That plan, do, check, act kind of cycle. It's about just reviewing it and making sure that it's actually working. And if it's not working, don't be scared to swap it out and try something new. And another common thread that I've seen when talking to lots of manufacturers and other kind of things like today is that people feel overwhelmed. They don't know where to even get started. So it's about taking small steps and actually just getting started. I don't worry about it being perfect. There's a common phrase that we use in the Sustainability Hub is the good is the enemy of the great. And it's all the great is the enemy of the good. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work, and to start that journey, and you'll build on it, and there'll be constant iterations and improvements over time. So again, it's really kind of putting that forward and doing it in that way. So that's really kind of the end of the session in terms of kind of the information that I have for you. So just a Q&A if there are any questions. What I'll do is I'll stop sharing to make it a bit easier for me to see. And if there are any, fantastic. If there aren't, then maybe you get 5 minutes back. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate your time. Guys, I am going to sign out then. I don't think there's any burning questions that you've got for me. So yeah, thanks again.